He was the most feared assassin, but one day he failed to execute his job, and this costed him the life of his love. In pain, he devised a revenge plan, so full of pain that it would have even feared by the devil himself. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me.
She will.
The movie kicks off in Paris, where our assassin, who clearly doesn't believe in the phrase "early bird gets the worm," is staring out of a window, nearly nodding off until his timer buzzes. He finally snaps awake, because even killers need a snooze button. Still staring out of the window, now with gloves on, because of course no fingerprints. This mysterious assassin is only known as the killer. Earphones in, he spends his time people watching, probably wondering why they're so much better at living normal lives than his. Deciding it's time to pretend he has a gym membership, he does some yoga and push-ups before heading out of his. Wearing his best, don't notice me disguise, sunglasses, and a hat. He scans a bike with his phone like a modern-day assassin, grabs some snacks at a cafe, because even killers need a croissant, and makes a phone call. The guy on the other end mentions an arrival, and the killer replies he's been waiting for 5 days. Like someone tracking a package that still hasn't been delivered. After declaring he'll wait just 2 more days, as if he's got a busy schedule, he heads back to his hideout. A narrator chimes in, letting us know the killer refuses to book any more Airbnb rentals due to hidden cameras. Apparently, not even assassins are safe from creepy landlords. As night falls, the killer sets up his sniper rifle like he's prepping for a camping trip, only deadly. At one point, a mailman shows up, nearly walking into it, but neither one seems up for small talk. When dawn breaks, the killer reflects on the true enemy, boredom. Forget enemies or targets. Nothing is worse than waiting for hours. He cleans the sink to pass time, because even killers like a tidy workspace, before settling into his makeshift bed for a quick snooze. Deciding that power naps are the way to go, the killer sets an alarm to wake up and check for his target's arrival. You know, like a super intense version of waiting for pizza delivered. During one of these checks, he spots the curtains opening at the target's place, and a maid starts prepping the house like it's the season finale of Assassin Cribs. The killer grabs his sniper, ready for action, and notices more people entering. The maid welcomes guests, and he spies a woman being escorted to a room. He puts on his hoodie, muttering to himself like a motivational speaker. His watch buzzes, showing his heart rate is spiking. Pro tip, even killers get nervous before the big moment. Looking through his scope, he sees his target with a woman who's probably the target's wife. In a moment of existential crisis, the killer gives himself a pep talk about morals, which weirdly enough calms him down. But when he finally takes the shot, he misses, hitting the woman instead. Oops, clearly not his best work. Realizing things have gone sideways, he packs up his stuff faster than someone who's late for a meeting. He slaps on a motorcycle helmet, jumps on a scooter, and races off like he's trying to avoid the cops. In a bad Yelp review. While driving, he casually tosses his gun into a garbage truck because littering is a crime, but hitmen throwing away murder weapons. Totally fine, right? After some clever alleyway maneuvers, he pulls up to a sketchy public restroom, changes his appearance, and hails a cab to the airport. Because if there's one thing this killer knows, it's how to stay stylish on the run. At the airport, he spots a security dog and, like anyone who's ever accidentally carried a bottle of water through TSA, makes a quick U-turn. He cleans himself up, buys a ticket, and makes a call from a payphone, explaining the situation. On the plane, he notices a sketchy guy, probably thinking, great, now I'm the one being watched. Later, when the airline offers free accommodation due to a flight delay, he jumps at the chance. Free stuff? Even assassins can't resist that. At his hotel, he places a glass cup on the door handle, turning it into the cheapest security system ever before crashing on the couch. The next day, he sneaks out and catches his next flight, this time feeling a little more relaxed with his earphones in. He eventually lands, drives through some picturesque landscapes, a quick Instagram moment, maybe, and reaches a gated property. When he spots boot prints, he knows things are about to get interesting. Out comes the pistol, and over the gate he goes, sprinting toward the mansion like it's the Olympics of crime. The killer stumbles into a bloody scene and makes a frantic call before rushing to a hospital with power issues. There, he finds Magdala badly injured. Marcus, a friend of the killer, informs him that Magdala is his sister and she was attacked by a man and a woman, likely targeting the killer, but finding his wife instead. Despite her injuries, Magdala reassures the killer that she didn't reveal any secrets. After visiting her, the killer uncovers a hidden underground safe and the next day, while driving around, spots the car involved in the attack on his home. Determined, he tracks down an emergency driver connected to the case, hacking into a database to gather information. He sends a package to someone named Dolores and then confronts the driver, demanding answers. The driver reveals details about the attackers, calling them freaks and explaining how he was forced to drive them to a mansion. Unmoved by the driver's story, the killer eliminates him, focused solely on his mission for revenge. The killer, now with a fake passport, travels to New Orleans. He stops at a storage facility to prepare, collecting weapons, files, a new license plate, and power tools. He soon spots his next target, Dolores. Disguised as a garbage man, he enters a building. When Dolores sees him, she's terrified. The killer confronts both her and Hodges, holding them at gunpoint. Hodges immediately recognizes the killer and urges Dolores to cooperate. After locking Dolores in the bathroom, Hodges confesses, admitting he orchestrated everything after the killer missed his original target. Hodges may think he's out of tricks, but he's definitely wrong about that. The killer grabs a nail gun and shoots him right in the chest, guessing he's got about 6 minutes to live. Turns out, Hodges dies instantly, proving that even killers can make bad estimates sometimes. The killer then turns his attention to Dolores, who knows the names he's been looking. She agrees to spill the beans, but only if he promises not to make a mess. In a rare battle between his conscience and cold-hearted nature, he decides to let her go. But when she sees Hodges' body, she passes out. Smooth. The killer casually tosses Hodges into a garbage can like he's just taking out the trash. Dolores later ends up in a car ride she didn't sign up for. Panicking, she tries to make a break for it, but instead, she helps the killer go through some files to track down the subcontractors responsible for the home invasion. They uncover a name, Claiborne, the mastermind behind it all. After getting what he needs, the killer gets rid of Dolores, grumbling about how his line of work is basically one big cleanup job. He hits up a motel, grabs some food, and cleans his van because, you know, even assassins need a tidy getaway. With nothing else on his to-do list, he plans his next move, Florida. When he gets to the address he found, he sees a bunch of guys hanging around. As night rolls in, they start leaving, and the killer follows one of them back to his place. Faced with a barking dog at the fence, he tosses it some food like it's a treat, waiting for the right moment to slip in when the dog's not looking. A killer sneaks into a house to eliminate his target, who is in the shower. Before he can act, a man unexpectedly ambushes him, leading to a brutal fight. The killer uses household items as weapons, and, after a tense struggle, manages to fatally shoot the man. He escapes the house, pursued by a dog, and sets the place on fire with a Molotov cocktail to cover his tracks. The next day, he flies to New York, blending in by using public transport and renting a car. After locating his next target, he watches her carefully, but is interrupted by the sound of distant sirens. The killer meets the expert, a woman who stops for dinner at a waterfront restaurant. He joins her table and discreetly points a gun at her. She attempts to talk her way out, mentioning she had no role in his wife's attack and blaming another man. Despite her efforts, including trying to fake an injury, the killer remains emotionless and silences her with a single shot. He then sets his sights on a high-profile target. After observing the target's routine, he orders a key fob copier from Amazon and meets a contact for weaponry. With the copied fob in hand, he sneaks into the gym locker room where his target works out, steals the wallet to copy the access card, and then waits for the right moment. Later, he uses the card to enter the building and makes his way to the penthouse on the 27th. The killer confronts his target, billionaire Claiborne, as the man picks out a drink. At first, Claiborne doesn't recognize the killer and tries to bribe his way out, but when the killer reveals the copied card and starts asking questions, Claiborne realizes what's going on. He explains that after the killer's failed hit, Hodges decided to have him eliminated as a precaution. Claiborne smooth talks his way out of danger, convincing the killer that there's no personal grudge between. The killer warns him that if he ever needs to return, it won't be a quick or painless end. With his business wrapped up, the killer leaves. He travels to the Dominican Republic, where he reunites with his now-recovered wife. Over a quiet moment of tea, the killer finally experiences a sense of peace after all the chaos.